and welcome to your second MindUP lesson of the school year. My name is Joni and I'm a trainer for the Beach Cities Health District, and today I'll be guiding you through today's lesson, which is all about mindful awareness and understanding the difference between mindful behavior and unmindful behavior. But before we jump in, I'd like to begin with a mindful listening exercise. So let's get our bodies in a nice seated, calm, still position. Sit up nice and tall. Bring your hands to the tops of your thighs. And if it feels okay, you can close your eyes with me, or you can simply look down. Whatever feels best. Meet me there. And then take a nice, big, deep breath in through your nose. And exhale, let it go. Great job. Let's do that one more time together. Bigger breath in, and open your mouth and let it go. And now, start to listen to the sounds around you. The sounds that are really far. Maybe outdoors or in another area of your house. Listen closely to what you might hear. And now bring your attention to the room that you're in, the space around you, and begin to notice those sounds. And now bring your attention to the sounds right around your body, in your chair, in your little bubble space. Maybe you hear your breath, or the sound of your stomach growling. And then slowly you can blink your eyes open or look up. And I'm wondering, did you hear any sounds that you've never heard before? Or maybe never heard that loud? Sometimes we can be in a space so often, but we don't focus our attention on those sounds, and we don't focus on listening, so we simply don't notice it. Today, we'll be talking about doing one thing at a time and becoming more mindful and more aware of our behaviors so that we can act in a more respectful and responsible way. For today's lesson, you'll need quite a few materials, and those will be listed on the next slide. So take a look and we'll get started. Here are the materials you need for today: the mindful or unmindful worksheet, a pen or a pencil, scissors, glue stick, or tape. Here's a picture of each worksheet. We'll be referring to these worksheets a lot throughout the lesson, so be sure you have them nearby. On the top of your worksheet, you'll notice the heading Mindful or Unmindful. Your job is to decide whether or not the behaviors listed are mindful behaviors or unmindful behaviors. We are mindful when we think before we act. All three parts of your brain that we learned about in the first lesson, your amygdala, prefrontal cortex, and hippocampus, work together to help you think before you act. We're unmindful when we act without thinking. We aren't paying attention to what's happening around us, and our amygdala tries to do all of the work. During these times, it's hard for us to make good decisions. One example of being mindful is exactly what we practiced a moment ago, mindful listening. Maybe you weren't lying on the beach, but you were listening really closely and just paying attention to the sounds around you. Okay, so now it's time to review everything we've learned about mindful and unmindful behaviors using your worksheet. Here's the worksheet that you'll need. And as you can see, this is full of different examples, and they might be a little bit hard to read, or maybe you can read them on your own and follow along with me. So we'll start with the first example, and that says listening to someone read a story and being able to retell it. Now your job is to decide whether or not this is a mindful or unmindful behavior. If you think that listening to someone read a story and being able to retell it is mindful, give me a thumbs up. If you think it's unmindful, give me a thumbs down. If you're not really sure, you can just put a thumb in between. Now, I want you to think, earlier in the lesson, we did some mindful listening, and we were listening carefully to sounds. So, if you're listening carefully to someone tell a story, and you're able to retell it, that's pretty similar. And then, so that must be mindful behavior. If you gave me a thumbs up, it's mindful behavior. Nice work. You can place an M on your sheet right next to it. We'll go through the rest of these examples together, and as I read them, I want you to place an M for mindful behavior or a U for unmindful behavior. Then once we get through all 8 of these, I'll tell you what's next. Example number 2 is tasting a new food even if it looks different from anything you've eaten. The next example is ignoring a classmate who wants to join your game or group. Would that be mindful or unmindful behavior? What about crossing the street without looking both ways? Would that be mindful or unmindful behavior? Keeping your voice quiet when other people are reading is an example of mindful or unmindful behavior. Which one? Do you think trying to do too many things at the same time is mindful or unmindful? What about helping someone in need? Do you think this would be a mindful behavior or an example of an unmindful behavior? Finally, our last example is leaving your shoes in the middle of the living room. Write down whether you think this is mindful or unmindful. Welcome back. It's time to cut and paste all of those examples you labeled onto your mindful and unmindful template. So your sheet will probably look a little like this with M's and U's. And you'll take this sheet, you'll cut each example out, and since we did the first one together, I cut that one out and I already glued it right on my blank template sheet like this. The rest of these examples will fit really nicely in the mindful column and unmindful. And just so you know, there'll be exactly 4 in each column. If you're having trouble at all, you can have an adult help you. You can also pause this video, take your time cutting and pasting, and when you're ready to move on, you can press play and we will wrap up the lesson together. Nice work! You've made it to the final video of this lesson, which means you've completed your worksheet and perhaps you've even had a chance to share it with somebody at home. I hope that this lesson reminds you to think before you act and think before you speak. When we do those things, we can be sure that our behavior will be just a bit more mindful. And if we make a mistake, the best thing that we can do is just become aware of that mistake and do better next time. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you again soon.